We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We have done it. We have reached the start of the National Football League season. Live on Thursday night. Of course, there's a game should be starting very shortly over on Amazon Prime for tonight. But this is Vikings talk here, so you can go watch Kansas City and Baltimore later. That doesn't matter right now. But we have a little game going on Sunday at noon at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, where the Vikings will travel to face the New York Giants. So Lance and I, of course, will break down that game, look at all the latest from that. End of the show, we will, as always, do our season predictions, who we think is going to win each division, wild cards, and you're hearing a repeat, Drew? Ah, dang it. 1 second. Let me hop off and hop back.
Hello.
How about now? Any better?
I'm not hearing a repeat, but
You're not hearing a repeat? Maybe Drew is stoned. Who knows? But anyway, good evening, Ken. But yeah, we'll go through our season predictions afterwards. Good evening, Stephen. And kind of pick our Super Bowl picks and all that other good stuff later on, but still hearing it. Anybody else hearing the echo, or is it just or the repeat, or is it just coming through there? And he is stoned. Well, if it's no echo, all right. It must just be Drew then. Anyway, let's start out with the news thing. Of course, pretty much good evening, Doc. You know, the big non-football related news that came out today, or not today, but this past week was, of course, Star Tribune beat writer Mark Craig ended up getting an interview with former Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer. This is the first time he has talked to any Minnesota media whatsoever since his firing at the end of the 2021 season.
Salty.
Salty is probably the understatement of the decade on that one. Zimmer came off looking just like a lot of us had thought that he'd become.
Yep.
You know, that crotchety old bitchy, curmudgeon that sit there, old man yells at cloud kind of thing. And
in my opinion,
it
wasn't a good look. It wasn't a good look for Zimmer.
No. Good evening, Charles. Yeah, the worst part about it, I mean, we all knew he was a crusty old curmudgeon, but the biggest part that came off is showing just how thin-skinned Zimmer actually is. Just by his own, his comments, showing somebody that refused to really take responsibility for anything that happened. When somebody ended 2 friendships because the other parties said something he didn't like. I mean,
Just there's a fracture between him and his players on his roster.
yeah. Well,
It's not a good thing. It's not good head coaching credentials to have when you can't get the most out of your players on your roster or support even the guys that you have on your roster.
Well, the Wilfs asked him if he wanted to talk to the players, once he was told that he was getting let go. And he's like, why the hell would I want to do that? These guys got me fired.
It's just bullshit.
No, Mike, the players didn't get you fired. You got you fired because Kevin
fired.
O'Connell took pretty much the same team the following year and went 13-4 with them.
Yeah.
But some of the players, just some of the other stuff, and I think we had heard about this one a little bit in the throughout the rumor mill. But when Zimmer kind of saw the writing on the wall, he had a meeting with his players and was talking about all the adversity that he had faced as head coach. The Adrian Peterson thing, Teddy Bridgewater's knee exploding on him, his eye surgeries, basically making excuses for, look what we've done and look how much bad stuff has happened to me this whole time I've been head coach here. And a couple of players had said it was one of the most awkward, speeches or whatever from a head coach that they'd ever been a part of. We knew that it was pretty obvious 2021 things weren't all that great between himself and Rick Spielman.
The year we signed Kirk Cousins, things felt different.
Yeah.
As far as the coaching standpoint goes.
Kirk, he made that well known. Tommy Kramer made a comment. He claimed that Zimmer actually wanted to stick with Case Keenum. I don't know that that's true because Zimmer never gave Keenum credit for anything in 2017.
Well, never gave him the starting. He never established him as a starter after every game. It was always a week by week type of deal with Keenum.
Right. I mean, the big game where he basically tried to put Sam Bradford back out there on one leg.
Right.
But with that 2021, Zimmer says in the draft when come to the 4th round when we had the 3 picks where he took Chaz Surratt, Kellen Mond, and Pat Jones. He said after Spielman drafted Kellen Mond, Mike Zimmer walked out of the room and left.
Yep.
And didn't talk to Spielman at all until he came back the following day. So he was there. He wasn't there for, half of the draft night.
Right. Yep.
And Spielman, when he came back in the following day, Spielman had said, "What, are you mad at me about something?" He said, "Yeah, you picked 3 backups and there were 3 other guys out there that I thought were starters that we should have gotten."
Yep.
Kellen Mond had been reached. He said Mike Zimmer never talked to him the entire time that he was there. A couple of different ones. Terrence Newman, who was always a Mike Zimmer guy, and played here with him and played in Dallas with him.
This is the most pettiest thing out of all of it, I think.
Yep, and was actually an assistant coach helping Zimmer out. Had made a comment that the final days of Zimmer's tenure became severely toxic.
Honest answer to a question he was asked.
Yeah, and Zimmer called him out on it, and Terrence Newman said, "Well, that's how it felt around here, in my opinion." And Zimmer said, "Okay, that's fine. We're done."
Right.
And he hasn't talked to him since.
You know how I'd be like, "Fine, fuck you." Okay, that's what you think of me? Then all right.
Well, and then the other one, he had owned a racehorse with Paul Allen. They ran it at Canterbury and some of this other stuff. And after the infamous Kirk Cousins, Mike Zimmer shoving match, after that comeback win against Detroit, PA had made a comment on his radio show, the following week that Zimmer had snapped during that sideline, exchange. Right. And Zimmer was complaining that PA was talking about him on the air. Hell, you're the voice of the Minnesota Vikings, and you have a radio show that you have to talk about the Minnesota Vikings 5 days a week. Something happened with the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, you are going to talk about it.
Yeah. Ego, man.
Yeah,
Ego.
but then now, when he complained about that, and PA basically said the same thing, Zimmer bought him out of the racehorse and has to talk to him after that. But Zimmer's response to all this was, unfortunately, I hold grudges. That's just how I am.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
So
whatever.
Yeah, Mike Zimmer. Yeah. Glad he's gone. We're much better off right now. And he can sit there and run his little defense in Dallas. I mean, which is all I ever wanted to do anyway. He wanted the prestige of being a head coach, but never wanted to do anything except defense. So.
Right.
But other interview news, this is an interesting one. I had never heard this until this week here. Harrison Smith did an interview with Alec Lewis in The Athletic and was talking about that he tore his gracilis muscle in his left leg in December of 2015 versus Seattle.
Yep.
Doctors had told him it was about 90% torn. They said he could have surgery, but in order to do that, of course, you would miss time, or he could tear it the rest of the way and keep playing. He said he tried for several days, jumping up and down, trying to get it to go the rest of the way. And he said it hurt like a mother. But he said he just was he was still practicing, doing all that other stuff. And then he said he just bumped into another player when he was walking across the field, and it tore the rest of the way. Felt great. And it still tore to this day.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That is crazy.
It just shows how tough Harrison Smith is. I mean, that kind of almost goes back to the Ronnie Lott having his
I was going to say these safeties
taken off kind of thing
throughout the years are just crazy, man. Yeah.
So, but yeah, kind of some interesting, sideline interviews. Justin Jefferson did his piece as well, said that he wants Darnold and McCarthy, of course, being next year, to have all the confidence in the world. Basically, he wasn't throwing shade at the last guy, but basically said to have more confidence and just go out there and trust him. Don't worry about throwing it into tight coverage. Just give him the opportunity and trust him to make the play.
Yep.
Good evening, Josh. So, I mean, kind of, I love the more vocal leadership stuff that Jefferson is doing this year now.
That's what I've expected. That's what I expect out of a leader, and we're getting it. So,
yep. Dennis Cockrum and the Trailer Park Country Band. What's up from the Trailer Park? Good evening. Good evening, Robert. But yeah, that's most of the news. Was anything else you had that I missed, or?
Not that I can recall at this point.
Okay. All right. So with that, we are going to roll into the preview of week 1. Again, as always, in the comment section for the new guys there. Any questions, comments on anything that we talk about here? Questions as we go along, throw them in the chat. We'll talk about them. Really love both JJs. Absolutely can. I do as well. Justin Jefferson takes a lot of pride in that C on his chest. 100%, Doc. And now, he feels like this is his team now, and he needs to, it's his time to stand up and be that vocal leader. And I'm glad that he's doing it. And he's doing things the right way. He's not, as we've seen many times over the years, the Stephon Diggs is your even Randy Moss is your pick your diva wide receiver, that gets up there, and Terrell Owens is another one. Robert, did we bring in a punter to try out? Yes, we did.
Oh, we did.
Found out the reasoning for that today is because the New York Giants have a left-footed punter. So the guy we brought in was a left-footed punter to give us some practice. Again, Dennis
Nice.
and the Trailer Park Country Band will be playing at the tailgate September 22nd in Minneapolis at the Corner Bar. So if you guys are going to the game or going down there, make sure you check those guys out. Good evening, Norsefius. Ken thinks they will surprise the NFL. I think they will too. I think, we've talked about that before. I think we're being severely written off, I guess, early. We'll talk about some more of that a little bit later here. Injury report, of course, has come out for the understandable, Drew. We'll catch you on the flip-flop. Why do you think we got rid of Hall for Rip and Hall? But we'll discuss this right now, and then we'll get back to the preview. From everything I had heard was that they did not want to be in the same situation where they were last year. And even though Hall had looked good in the 2 preseason games,
they don't trust him in the regular season.
They still thought that he needed more work, where Rippon has starting experience and more playing time further along in his development at the very least.
Honestly, everybody, I'm not going to lose sleep personally over who our 3rd string quarterback is.
No,
yeah, last year happened, but I'm not going to sit here and hold any angst or anger or lose any sleep over who our fucking 3rd string quarterback is, going into the season. Hopefully I don't have to worry about it later on.
Because if we get to the 3rd string quarterback, the season is down the tubes already anyway. Now, the Vikings did want to bring Hall back to the practice squad, but he got the opportunity to be on the active 53 with Seattle, so that's where he went. But
no, I think he went to the practice squad in Seattle. He went through waivers.
I think he's on.
Oh, he is on the active roster.
Yeah, he's 3rd string on the active.
Okay.
Yeah, not sold on our 2nd stringer. I mean, Mullins is what he is at this point in time. Hopefully Darnold plays well enough that we don't need to worry about it and he stays healthy, but
that's just it. That's what I'm banking on anyways.
Yeah. So anyway, back to the initial injury report for the week. 2 players on for the Vikings. Jordan Addison, who of course has been dealing with that ankle injury since the first preseason game. The reporters talked to him after practice today. He said he's going to be ready to rock on Sunday. So expect Addison to play. Jalen Naylor also on the injury list with an ankle issue. Yet another injury in the long line of injuries that have hampered the career of young Jalen Naylor. Do not know exactly where Naylor is as far as whether or not he plays or not this week. I did reach out to Ben Gessling, but who posted this originally, haven't heard back from him to see what his thoughts were on it. But I heard from another source when I was listening to the radio on the way home that Naylor is probably a day or 2 behind Addison. So if it's that close, there's a decent chance he probably will play on Sunday, but
yeah, I look for him to get.
We'll see what the injury report looks like tomorrow.
I look for him and Tristan to be kind of swapping out.
Yeah, well, Brandon Powell as well. So
yeah, of course.
But Tristan Jackson earned himself some playing time too, is my opinion. So
absolutely.
But other than that, that's it on the injury front. Don't think there's any big names on the Giants side that are out.
No, I don't believe so.
No, Daniel Jones was listed as questionable, but it had nothing to do with injury. I think it was questionable talent, but I kid because I can. That's good. The key. I see a bunch of things talking about. The Giants fans are going back to the wild card game a couple of years ago. Well, the thing that the Giants fans defense. Yeah, the things that the Giants fans need to worry about or remember is Ed Donatel is no longer here.
Right. We didn't get that special surprise from Dontel that we were all promised the week before against the Giants that weekend. So this is the Flores defense that's hungry.
Yeah, we got the special surprise that they sucked worse than than what we expected them to. But I think Flores is going to have a bunch of stuff cooked up. And we've seen Daniel Jones over the past, 5-6 years. Disgusting act. Good evening. Kickoff is delayed. What were they waiting for Taylor Swift to get up into the press box or what? He's at the game tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So,
right.
But I think Daniel Jones is going to be running for his life on Sunday. We've got,
Weaver just said it right there at the bottom.
Yep.
Right as you came out of your mouth. Sacks.
Yeah, you got Grenard and Van Ginkel's healthy now. He'll be playing. And you got Dallas Turner that's going to be rotating in. And it's going to be interesting to see what the Vikings, front three can do as well here. Can Jerry Tillery produce some stuff? We know what Harrison Phillips is. I mean, he's a good run stuffer. I think
there's going to be a heavy rotation amongst through those three down linemen.
Yeah. I want to see LDR get in there and see what he can do.
You're going to see LDR. You're going to see Jalen Redmond mixing in and Taki Tiamani mixing in. I don't think you're going to have your starting three guys, but there's going to be a heavy rotation throughout the game.
Yeah.
Snaps will be dispersed accordingly, I believe.
And I think if we can get constant pressure, I want to see what this new look secondary is going to be doing too, with
lots of wisdom there this year compared to last season. Murphy's not that old. Murphy was our veteran presence last year, and the dude is still in his mid-20s.
Yeah, he's like 26 or 27, I think he is.
So, I mean, it's been some time since this defense has had that actual veteran presence at the cornerback position.
Yeah, I mean, Stephon Gilmore's 33, so he's got the wealth of experience there that, and hopefully.
And the thing is, he could still perform at 33. And I believe it's just Terrence Newman was here, and he was performing at 38?
Yeah, and I mean, 36 or 37 at least, yeah.
It's still a high level, and that's kind of what I'm expecting out of Gilmore, but just a little bit more, I think that defensive back room is going to it's going to have to, but I believe it is going to look much better than last year towards the end of the season.
Yep. And then, Shaq Griffin has not appeared on the injury list this week, so fully assume he's good to go. When they go into nickel package, Murphy will move inside and Griffin will come in on the outside. They're going to move in. I wouldn't be surprised to see McGlothern get some run as well as he's played.
I'd love to see Evans on special teams for the first time in his career too.
Yeah, if he's active.
Yeah.
Secondary, I'm excited to see what Ivan Pace brings in year 2. See what Blake Cashman, the year he had last year.
He's going to be that one guy that we haven't talked about a lot, but come game day, he's going to make his presence known, I believe.
Yeah. Now he is playing with a splint on his thumb because he did hurt that in training camp, but fully healthy,
he
fully
should
ready
be at
to play.
Least at 97%. I mean, that splint on the thumb, that thumb thing was from weeks ago. So, I mean, you would think that's damn near pretty much healed.
Yeah, it's just a protective measurement, right?
Yeah.
But, I don't see it hurting him too much.
No, well, you see dudes out there with clubs on their arms, man, still making plays. So
right. No, the Giants offensively, of course, we talked about old Danny Dimes. You get in his face and he's going to fall apart. We've seen that year after year with him.
Containment's big with Danny Dimes, though, for sure. He's a sneaky, mobile type of quarterback.
Oh yeah, he's got mobility now. Of course, he's coming off knee injury last year where he missed most of the season.
That's true.
Is that going to affect his mobility?
I think we both know the X factor here for the Giants offense. And that's the coming out party of Malik Neighbors, which I hope doesn't happen this weekend. So,
yeah, and that's going to be one to watch because if we give or let Jones have time back there to find Neighbors, I think he's the real deal. I think he is. And he's gonna get his yards. Hopefully we can keep him contained.
That's it. That's the key to this game on defense is keeping Neighbors at bay and keeping coverage there in coverage,
Yeah.
Otherwise I think everything else falls into place accordingly.
Yeah, because I mean the other wide receivers, they got Jalen Hyatt, who they drafted last year. Decent,
the one dude that Hodge gave us fucking headaches the 2 times we played him the last 2 seasons, but I don't know if he's still there or not. Isaiah Hodge.
He's not on the team anymore. I don't remember where he went, but he's not with the Giants anymore.
And word is,
otherwise they have Darius Slayton, who is.
Daboll's calling plays this year, from what I heard.
I think so, yeah. They have Slayton and then Skull for Life. Barbara, good evening.
Yeah.
If we get pressure games over, absolutely it is, Robert.
The thing is, we need to get home. We need to get home.
And it's not going to necessarily always
pressure, it's just finishing.
And it doesn't even always need to be sacks. It's just getting there, getting in his face, knocking him down.
Causing chaos.
Yeah.
Causing chaos.
Yep, cause chaos. Get in his face, get him off his marks, get him flustered. Because you get him flustered, he's going to make mistakes. There's going to be opportunities for interceptions.
And it's that coverage complementing the pressure of the defense as well.
Right, and that's the thing. If we can get pressure up front, it's going to make life a lot easier for the guys in the back end. And then, of course, you got Metellus, the Swiss Army knife, coming from every position possible on the field. And
every position possible, yeah. Puts his hand in dirt sometimes.
Well, he played every position on defense last year except nose tackle.
Yeah. He is a Swiss Army knife in the pure definition of it.
Yep.
And Ginkle, he could go anywhere too.
He moves around a lot.
So many tools. So many tools in Flores' toolbox this year. It's going to be really interesting to see how he schemes things up.
Oh, and I will guarantee at some point in time we are going to see them pull in 5 edge rushers, put them in that NASCAR package type thing where they're rushing all these guys, the zero blitz and bringing the house on them.
Right.
The running game, Devin Singletary is their starting running back who, has been around the block for quite a while. He's a decent back, but
he's just the guy, in my opinion, at the running back position.
Yeah, he's an average running back. It's nothing spectacular. Yeah. So we should be able to contain their run game, and as long, like you mentioned earlier, as we keep Daniel Jones in the pocket and don't let him take off and run around like he's Patrick Mahomes or something. Yeah, I think the defense can hold the Giants at bay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I absolutely agree.
Now, the question rolls over to the offensive side of things.
This is where the concern comes.
The Giants in the back end are suspect.
Yes.
I think if we can give Darnold time, I think he can pick them apart back there.
Which leads to this.
The problem is keeping him with a clean pocket. Of course, we got Dexter Lawrence
out of his lap.
Yeah. And as we've saw in years past, Dexter Lawrence has stolen Garrett Bradbury's lunch money, went and bought him lunch, brought it back to him, and then stole his lunch the second time.
A lot of guys built in Dexter Lawrence's mold that we faced in the past have given Garrett Bradbury stolen his lunch money.
Right.
But Bradbury, as much of a he's gotten better every year since he's been a rookie.
Yeah, and he did put on some weight this year, but weight's never really been Bradbury's problem. It's been leverage.
The anchor, not being able to anchor.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that's going to be the key thing there. How does Blake Brandel play his first starting role at left guard? Can your buddy Ed Ingram
off at either over there in New York?
No, especially Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah, and then you got Brian Burns lined up next to
Brian Burns on the other side. Yep. I mean, their front seven is formidable, but the
I agree.
Disgusting act. Yeah, absolutely. And
I look for us to get the best defensive tackle out there next year in free agency.
Yeah. Well, we thought we had Christian Wilkins in free agency up until the very last second.
I think that might be a blessing in disguise that we didn't, but we shall see. I mean, like I said, next off season, I think we go get the best interior defensive lineman available.
Yeah. Whether it be a free agent guy or drafting a D tackle really high too.
Yeah.
But there again, that's
maybe Taimani comes out and has a fucking amazing rookie season. Who knows? We'll all find out.
Or LDR
starts this Sunday.
Or LDR.
Right, or LDR, or both.
Yeah. Maybe
they both pop. Who knows?
Yeah. But looking at that, the Giants are listed as they're at least on their website, their defense is listed as a base 3-3-5. You've got Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence up front, Kayvon Thibodeau. Like I said, their secondary is suspect. Deontay Banks is probably their best cornerback.
I look for Jones to have a huge game on Sunday.
Yeah.
Against the 3-3-5. Yeah, that spells good running lanes to me, anyways.
I would think. Then their other cornerback is something called Cordale Flott.
I've heard of a cloud too over there in New York.
Yeah.
They brought back Adoree Jackson.
Yeah, Adoree Jackson is a backup. They also brought in Isaiah Simmons as a backup.
So, I mean, Darnold could have a big day, and it all comes back down to what we just discussed and along that interior of the offensive line. I believe that is the biggest thing that's going to affect the outcome of this game.
Yeah. And to Norsvis's point here, as a pass rusher, Thibodeau is top notch. I mean, he's not elite, but he's very good.
Aaron Jones, man.
Yep. Aaron Jones. And that Aaron Jones, get him running in there. That's where you kind of neutralize the effects of Thibodeau, is because, like Norsvis said here, he's not a complete player. He's a pass rusher.
Right.
Which is nothing wrong with that. There's tons of players that have made careers out of that.
Emerson Griffin.
Jared Allen, to a point. Jared Allen didn't like he didn't like stopping the run. It just, if the running back came by him while he was running to the quarterback, he'd tackle him, kind of thing,
Yep.
Josh, could this be considered a revenge game for Darnold? I mean, it is MetLife Stadium.
I think it could be a new coming out party for Darnold. This is the chance to show what he can do with a fucking legitimate team all around.
Right. I would look more for that revenge game when we go across the pond to Tottenham Spurs against the Jets. But Jones going to catch a lot of balls. Absolutely. And especially until TJ Hawkinson gets back, I think that's going to be even more important, is Jones's ability to catch out of the backfield.
Oh yeah. And there's no question about that. It's part of his game.
It is. Yeah. And
that's part of the reason. We had a pure running back that could do both, catch balls out of the backfield and make plays in the run game as well.
I mean, Dalvin Cook in his prime was pretty decent at it.
Yeah.
But beyond that, Ant is still.
I am too. I am absolutely.
Yeah, I am too. And I still think those fuckers were stealing signs at that time.
I do too. I agree. Yes. Fucking Jim Fassel, Monty Toomer, Kerry fucking Collins.
Right.
God, that game pissed me off. Yeah, I'm angry too still, Ant.
Yep. All right, so that's kind of the preview stuff. So what do you think we need to see from the Vikings this weekend in order for us to secure the W?
Good offensive line play. And I think everything else will fall into place. Darnold's got the arm. He's got the talent around him. That defense is hungry. This whole team is hungry to show the NFL, that, hey, we can hang with the boys, even if it's the Giants. We need to walk away this weekend with the W, and I think we will. I believe we will.
Yeah, this is absolutely the easiest game out of our first 5 or 6.
It might be the easiest game on our schedule, to be honest.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got to get these wins that they're actually favored by 2 or 2.5 points, I think, going into the game, as far as drafts, according to DraftKings. So, I mean,
it's the closest spread of all games this weekend. So,
yeah. So you need to go in there and take care of business, and and again, I'm going to echo the offensive line. That is going to be key, because if Darnold like to your point, it is MetLife Stadium. If he starts seeing the ghosts of MetLife Stadium again, it's going to be a long day.
Okay, so going off of that, unlike Kirk
Jones
Cousins,
be able to help with that.
Unlike Kirk Cousins, Darnold has the ability to extend plays with his feet, and I know a lot of us as Vikings fans haven't seen that yet, but that is part of his game. That is part of his game. He is more mobile than what you would think.
Darnold is far more mobile than what people realize. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not gonna stand in that pocket and take a sack like Kirk did at times during his time here, where he's gonna roll out of the pocket and make plays on the outside as well.
Yep.
When he has to. Or extend drives with his legs more so than Kirk ever did.
Yep. And on the defensive side of things, I want to see this new look pass rush, and I want to see that getting pressure, and I want to see that us getting pressure not only from the edge rushers. I want to see it coming up the middle,
right?
Whether it's Jerry Tillery or whoever.
Ideally, you want to get pressure from your linemen before you have to get pressure from your linebackers.
Because that's part of it. If you're because if you're collapsing the center of that pocket, he cannot step into that and throw, which means he's going to get flushed, which means he's going to get turned into Dallas Turner or Grenard or Van Ginkel or whoever's out there.
That's absolutely right.
So secondary is going to have to help a lot. Yeah.
And we got touched on that. That pass rush and that secondary have got to complement each other this year much, much better. And I think, like I said earlier, with those proven veterans that have done it before at a high level, that's going to go a long way this year for us in this defense.
Mm-hmm.
And the younger guys behind, like a Dwight McLaughlin and even a Caleb Evans.
Yep. So yeah, with that, and I want to see the Vikings come out and be aggressive on off too. I saw something today. I think it's been 6 years or something like that since this team scored 40 points.
Yeah.
This week's as good a week as any to cancel that out.
That would be a bold prediction and a fucking massive surprise to a lot of people if we could throw up a 40 burger on the Giants.
Yeah, go out there and just boat race them, winning 42-14 or something like that.
Not saying that's going to happen, but I would love to see it.
Oh, yeah. And I'm hoping, as Kevin O'Connell learns as he goes and gets more experience as a head coach, he's got to get to that point where it's okay to go out and curb stomp somebody.
Yes, right. And we had the same problem with fucking Zimmer. It was horrible with Zim. All the fucking games had to be close. All the games had to be close. We had to win.
That's because Zimmer wanted his defense to be the reason why we won the damn game.
Right.
Kevin O'Connell, I don't know if it's.
I want to go out and just massacre a team sometime. With the talent on offense is there to be able to do that.
Oh, absolutely it is. But yeah, I do believe the Vikings are going to take care of business this weekend. They're going to go in and get a win. Probably not going to be that 40 points like I said a minute ago here. It's probably going to be 23-13 or something like that probably, but I think they have the ability to go in there and win by at least 2 scores.
The thing is with KOC is he needs to keep his foot on the pedal. He gets to a point where he feels like he's comfortably ahead, and then he can start conservative play calling. When in reality, you just need to keep doing what you're doing when you came out. Keep your foot on the gas pedal. Don't be afraid to score 100 points. You're not going to, but that's the mentality that you should have.
Yeah, you need to have the mentality that you are going to crush your opponent's spirit and make them give up.
No more gentleman games. This isn't a gentleman's game.
No, you put your boot on their throat until the final bell rings.
And we nailed that too already there, Ant. You must be coming in a little bit late.
Yep. So yeah, I guess. And anything else you want to hit on the game before we move over to the previews?
Nope. And my prediction for the game is 24-10, 24-13-ish. Maybe 27-10, 27-13. But there's going to be a 2-score spread, I believe. The under over, like the plus minus, I believe is thrown out the window this week, and I believe we're going to walk away with a 2-score win at least.
Yeah. I agree. All right. So with that, we are going to move over to our season predictions. We do this every year, picking the winners of all the divisions, wild card teams, and then ultimately Super Bowl champions. So let's start off in the AFC. We'll go to the AFC East first. Who do you have winning over there, Lance?
AFC. Who do we got for teams over there? I don't have
AFC East. You have Buffalo, Miami, the Jets, and who was the fourth one? I'm drawing a blank.
Miami, the Jets, and who else out there, guys?
Oh, New England.
Okay. I'm going to go with Miami taking that division this year. I think Buffalo's going to disappoint a lot of people. I think Buffalo takes a step back this year.
Yeah,
Miami
I agree.
takes that next step. And then maybe Jets as a wild card, maybe, depending on how Rodgers comes out.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think Aaron Rodgers really wants to play football anymore. He skipped out on portions of training camp and mandatory mini camps and that other stuff just so he could go in his ayahuasca darkness retreats or whatever the hell he was doing. I agree that Buffalo, I think, is going to be taking a step back this year. I mean, they don't really have much for wide receiver. They got rid of Stephon Diggs. They jettisoned a lot of players, some offensive linemen and everything else like that too. So I think Buffalo,
it really comes down to Josh Allen being able to lead to carry that team is what it comes down to this season. What is Josh Allen going to do to help that team win?
Yeah, but I think I don't have Buffalo making the playoffs. I think they're going to.
Right, I got Miami and New York as a possible wild card out of that division.
Yep, I'm taking Miami too. I love what Mike McDaniel's doing down there with the offense. I mean, you've got Tyreek Hill. They gave Tua a new contract. I'm not sold on Tua, but of course, and then you got Jalen Waddle down there as well. Devon A-Chain at running back. So Miami is stacked. So they're taking that division, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's Miami's division to lose, in my opinion, as well.
Yep. Okay. AFC South, you have the Tennessee Titans, you have the Jacksonville Jaguars, you have the Houston Texans, and you have the Indianapolis Colts.
This could turn out being a pretty rowdy division, to be honest with you. In Tennessee, it all comes down to Will Levis. So does he take that next step as a quarterback? I don't believe he will, but if he does, that really shakes things up there down in the AFC South. Does Trevor Lawrence take that next big step in his career after getting that contract? And then you got Anthony Richardson, one of the most, mysterious mystery boxes. What are you going to get out of him? Me and you, very high on Richardson coming out of the draft. That's what we wanted.
Yeah.
If we could get him. What's going to happen there in Indy? I don't know. And then you got the Texans with Stroud coming back with the same cast people around him. Is he going to have that sophomore slump? This is going to be a hard division. But I mean, all signs point to Houston getting the division. I could see Indy sneaking in with the wild card, and then Jacksonville's going to always be competitive too.
Yeah.
So, but I'm going to go with the safe pick with Houston taking that division, and Houston's got a gauntlet of games coming out of the gate. I mean, their first game is against Indy, a division game. So, that's going to be a good competitive division. I'm just going to leave it at that. But I'll go with the safe pick and say Houston.
Yeah. I'm taking Houston as well. I mean, CJ Stroud, I love what he did last year. I wasn't a big CJ Stroud fan coming out, but
neither of us.
They got more than I expected out of him. Their wide receiver core is absolutely legit. They have three guys that can be starters on anybody else's team. I mean,
very
running
deep in that
game.
wide receiver.
What's that?
Yeah, very deep in that wide out room over there in Houston.
And of course, head coach is a defensive guy, so their defense is going to be good as well. The AFC South is going to be one of the tougher divisions in football, but I do believe the Houston Texans take it.
And I could see either Jacksonville or Indy stealing a wild card as well.
Yeah. We'll talk about wild cards in a minute, but okay. So then the AFC West, of course, you have the Kansas City Chiefs, you have the Vegas Raiders, you have the Los Angeles Chargers, and you have the Denver Broncos.
I think the Chargers, with Harbaugh at the helm, could surprise a lot of people this year. But that's yet to be seen. I don't know if I believe in that. As far as I want to see it before I start buying into it, but I could see them being a sleeper team in that division. It's Kansas City's division until somebody steps up and takes the crown.
Yeah, I agree. Kansas City has become the New England Patriots of the early 2000s. You don't count them out. The minute you start doubting them, they just walk up and smack you in the face. So Kansas City wins the AFC West, in my opinion.
They're just a whole other team when it comes to the postseason.
Yep.
They make their way through the regular season. They get into the playoffs, and then the playoffs are just a juggernaut.
Yeah. Well, and weren't as great. They looked like a beatable team during the regular season, and all the questions were, can they do it on the road, because they'd always done it at home before, and they proved no problem. They went out and won another Super Bowl. So,
like I said, they just walked their way through the regular season, and once they get to the playoffs, they just they hit an extra switch.
Yep. And
they just take it to the next level. And that's how the Patriots were back in the day too.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and you've got not only do you have Patrick Mahomes, you've got Andy Reid, who is an offensive mastermind there as well. So we're in agreement on all three AFC division winners. So who did you have coming in?
Interesting.
What's that?
The next group is interesting. The Baltimore, Cincy, and Pittsburgh and Cleveland.
Yep. So that with that one, who do you got coming out of the North?
I think it all comes down to Baltimore and Cincinnati. Cleveland is always there, like the little brother in the background waving, wanting to get in, but they don't have that. They just don't have that leadership like Baltimore and Cincinnati has right now. And then the other team that's just, just the outlier, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're always going to finish, middle of the pack, possibly push for a playoff spot. But I'm going to go with the return of Joe Burrow, hopefully at 100%. Cincinnati takes that division this year. Unless there's become some sort of drama somewhere, it's Cincinnati's division to lose. But I mean, you got Baltimore there that will be neck and neck with Cincy in that division.
Yeah. I'm going to go to the disagree on this, and I'm giving it to Baltimore. I mean, they were right there last year, and I think that they're going to be there, and it's going to be another tough division, as it always is. I love me some Joe Burrow. I think he's still the best quarterback not named Patrick Mahomes in the NFL.
I don't know. He has that injury. That injury bug has been following him around since he
went. Yeah, I was going to caveat that with when he's healthy. He hasn't been healthy especially last year, missed half the season. So it'd be interesting if he can come back. Cleveland's defense is absolutely legitimate, and if they can get anything out of Happy Endings Watson at quarterback, their offense, I mean, they've got the tools on offense as well. They got a good wide receiver core. They got a really good run game, and Kevin Stefanski is a very good coach.
Yeah.
But I'm going with Baltimore to win this division. They're at the top of the heap as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so we agreed on all but that one. Who did you have for wild cards in the AFC?
Let's go with Jacksonville and Indy and Baltimore and New York.
Okay. I think Cleveland's going to push for a wild card spot. I'm not convinced that Deshaun Watson is going to be able to get them there because before he got hurt, he looked like ass. So I don't think there's going to be a happy ending there. But I think out of the AFC West, I think the Chargers are going to make it in as a wild card. I mean, we all know, Jim Harbaugh, and the success he had when he was in San Francisco. I think he rolls that a little further south into Los Angeles.
Wherever he goes. He's a winner wherever he goes.
Justin Herbert is good to go for the season. He is on the injury list just because he isn't 100% yet, but he's on track to play on Sunday. So I think the Chargers make it. And then I think there's going to be two of them coming out of the AFC South. I'm going to go Jacksonville and Indy both make it in as wild cards.
Yep.
Doug Peterson in another year with Spicoli down there. I think he's going to be better. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has got to be that quarterback that everybody thought he was when they drafted him here sooner rather than later.
He needs to be, yeah.
And then, like we talked about Indy earlier too. So I think Indy's a team on the roster probably make it as the other wild card. Rolling over to the NFC now. Let's start out in the East. Of course, you have the Cowboys, the Commanders, the Eagles, and the New York Cowboys. Giants, who we face on Sunday.
This is kind of a crappy division, man. For real, there really isn't any big name teams that really stick out. The Cowboys, in my opinion, it's like a dumpster fire over there. I mean, they just signed CeeDee Lamb, but Dak Prescott's kind of disgruntled in Dallas, and they really didn't do much this offseason to bolster their roster. I think the Commanders might surprise a bunch of people. I think Jaden Daniels might surprise a bunch of people, and I could see the Commanders coming out and winning that division this year.
Interesting. I mean, the AFC East is always weird. They haven't had a repeat winner as the division champion for quite a while.
And the Eagles is a time bomb, in my opinion, just waiting to go off.
Yeah, I don't think I actually don't even have the Eagles making the playoffs this year.
Right. That's just lots of drama in that division, in my opinion. Between the Eagles,
they fell apart. They fell apart in that second half last year, and I think Sirianni is going to be seriously on the hot seat very soon.
Yeah, I think the Commanders are my favorite to win that division. I got the Commanders winning it. So
I need to see how Jaden Daniels plays before I can buy into the Commanders. The Giants, like we talked about, I think they're the worst team in this division. I just by default, I think Dallas wins the AFC East or NFC East. Sorry, not that I mean, you got CeeDee Lamb who just got paid. He's legit. They got a decent running crew over there. A couple of old guys in Zeke Elliott and Dalvin Cook, but
I don't know. I don't see Dallas.
I think Zimmer's go back to his.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. But I got him picked just because I don't, and I think Philadelphia is falling apart. I'm giving it to Dallas. How about the NFC South? Of course, one of the most ass divisions in football. You have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the New Orleans Saints, the Carolina Panthers, and the Atlanta Falcons.
This comes down to Tampa Bay and Atlanta. Who's going to take it? I think Tampa. The Atlanta is a better team, is a good team this year with Kirk Cousins running the show there at quarterback. And that was the biggest question in Atlanta was who can run the show on offense. And they went out and they got Kirk to do that. But you just look back at what Kirk had when he first came here. And the expectations were playoffs that year for us. And it did not happen his first season here.
Yep. And that's going to be the thing.
I look for it to be Tampa Bay. And I mean, it comes down to a battle between Tampa Bay and Atlanta. And I think Tampa Bay comes out on top.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Carolina's a ways out yet. I think they're going to be improved this year, but they're still not going to be contenders. New Orleans is a dumpster fire. You know, this is, again, one of the weaker divisions. Tampa Bay, you know, if Baker Mayfield can continue what he did, you know, last year, I think they're going to be right in there. And I think with those weapons that the Falcons have, you know, they got a good receiving core. They got the unicorn at tight end, Bijan Robinson at running back. I mean, I think they're by default, Kirk Cousins is enough to get them the NFC South, just because it is a horrible division. Atlanta missing the playoffs would be hilarious.
I think the
can't say
I
can disagree with you on that one, but
I think the situation is almost exactly the same as when Kirk Cousins came here. We were a team built to go to the playoffs that year, but we brought him in. That was coming off of Case Keenum taking us to the NFC Championship game. So I think Atlanta's in the same position that we were when Kirk came here, and Kirk could not get the job done the first year in his season.
Well, and the key thing that we have to remember about the Falcons, when Kirk came here, he didn't have anybody breathing over his shoulder. Down in Atlanta, he has Michael Penix Jr. staring right over the back of his shoulder. And the minute that Cousins, you know, has a swoon of any sort during the season, there's going to be fans clamoring for Penix to come in. And how does Kirk handle that adversity? We know adversity is something that Kirk really excelled at.
Yeah.
So I mean, that could be the change there, but
yeah, it comes down to Atlanta
into the
anyway. Continue on. Continue on.
Yep. Okay. NFC West. Of course, we have San Francisco, Seattle, Arizona, and the Los Angeles Rams.
Two best divisions in the NFC West, NFC North, in my opinion. I think the Cardinals are going to surprise a bunch of people this season. I think that pickup of Harrison Jr. is going to go a long way for those guys, and Kyler Murray, especially on offense. James Conner is really underappreciated. I believe he's a decent back. I think that's going to be a tough division. There could possibly be 2 or 3 playoff teams coming out of that division. I'm going to go with the Niners until proven otherwise. But anybody in that division, I think it's up in the air. Could come and take it. Seattle, I don't know.
Good evening,
I don't know. But
Seattle with the new coaching staff and everything. Yeah, you know, Seattle's got a new coaching staff. You know, for the first time in seems like forever, Pete Carroll's not there anymore. I'm still not sold on Kyler Murray. Never have been, never will be. Marvin Harrison Jr., I mean, can only help, of course, down there. But I think they're going to be a middle of the pack type team again. The Rams are going to be improved this year. I think the Rams are going to be pretty good. You know, you got McVay. You never count on a McVay team. But until proven otherwise, Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers are the top of that division.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, can Brock Purdy play himself into a second contract, or do they have problems that, you know, does he come back down to earth? Showed some signs of that a couple of times last year, but I think 49ers take the division.
Yep, I agree.
All right. Then the final division in the NFC, we have, of course, the NFC North, where you have the Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers, Chicago Bears, and our Minnesota Vikings. Who do you got winning the division?
Well, I got to take the Vikings. But with that being said, this is going to be of the biggest, hardest divisions in the entirety of the NFL, I think, as far as competitiveness goes. All four of these teams have gotten better in the last 5 years. All four of these teams in the North have gotten much, much better in the last 5 years. I'm gonna go with Minnesota. Just biased. I'm biased alone. So, I mean, the Lions are the Lions. They're going to be good again this year, I believe. The Packers, I'm not sold on love, and the Bears, I got to see what Caleb Williams brings to the table when it matters the most. So,
yeah. I mean, I've been saying it, ever since we drafted Darnold. I think the Vikings can be a wild card team with Sam Darnold. Had JJ McCarthy came in, all bets would have been off then. But I think Detroit's going to win the division again. That
they've never been repeat division
winners.
No,
they have not. But I also agree with what you're saying. Is this going to be a tough division? I can very easily see, everybody going 500 against everybody else in the
Josh Mickey's comment right there, and I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue that point. This could be
this
one
is
of those
very eerily similar to a lot of the chicanery seasons we've had in the past. Some of the best seasons I was talking to my brother about that. Some of the best seasons as a Viking have come with guys that have revitalized their careers in purple and gold. Manning the helmet quarterback.
Jared's never watching again if we say the Cheesers. No, I'm not picking them. But to that point, this could be like a 1987. We finished the season 8-7 and end up going to the NFC Championship game. But I think Detroit's going to win the division. And I made a comment on the IOW sports show the other night talking, I think this entire division top to bottom is probably going to be a 2 to 3 game swing between the best and the worst team.
Yeah. Yep.
I think it's going to be that close. Okay, so we varied a little bit more on our division picks here. So who do you got for wild card NFC?
I'm going to go with Los Angeles, the Rams.
Okay.
The Falcons, and the Lions.
Okay. I have the Rams coming out of the NFC West, and I have both Minnesota and Green Bay coming out as wild cards out of the NFC North. I don't trust Jordan Love yet. I want to, he got better at the second half of the season about the same time the running game took off.
Yeah.
So, is that a mirage or is it actually what Jordan Love is? We don't know. And I am, I've made my points known on what I think about Caleb Williams this entire offseason. He's got to prove to me that he can play.
Yeah.
So I don't trust him enough right now to put the Bears in the playoffs. So yeah, I'm going Rams, Vikings, and Packers as wild cards. Okay, who do you got reaching the conference championships? We'll start with the NFC.
Let's go with San Francisco, and why not Minnesota?
Okay. I'm not picking the Vikings to go that far this year. I think they can reach the divisional round. And if we get that far, it's going to be a successful season. I think the 49ers, again, that defense is always legit. I've said it for the last 3 years. That defense scares me as much as any defense in the league.
Too legit to quit.
Other than Brian Flores's, which we don't have to worry about.
Right.
God, I think it could be a rematch
with Detroit. That would have been
Detroit and San Francisco.
Yeah, if I wasn't taking the purple and gold, Detroit would be the pick. So that's saying enough for me too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying not to be too homeristic on the season here, but it's entirely possible.
Detroit, like
like Josh said earlier, this is a very, very kind of year that the Vikings can go out and surprise the shit out of everybody because there's no expectations. And then I'm going to take San Francisco going back to the bowl again.
Yeah, I'll take San Fran going back as well.
Okay. Over at the AFC, who you got in the conference championship?
Let's go with Cincinnati and Miami. No three-peat for Kansas City this year.
Cincy and Miami. All right. I'm going to agree with you on Miami, but I am going to throw in the Houston Texans against the Miami Dolphins for the AFC Championship game.
First ever Houston Texans championship, AFC Championship game.
But I think so. Okay, so we've got, and then I've got. I think Miami is going to take down Houston in the AFC Championship. It's going to be a San Francisco 49ers Miami Dolphins.
I'm going to go with a rematch from the 80s of the Bengals versus the Niners in the Super Bowl.
We had that a few years ago as well.
That's right. Yeah, that was who they played. So, and I will go with Cincinnati.
We'll see how our predictions go.
Cincinnati takes it this year.
You got Cincinnati winning it.
Yeah.
I think as the in the championship, I like Kyle Shanahan, but I don't trust him in those big moments. He's failed many times.
Yes. Yeah.
But then again, I don't trust Tua at that point either. So I'm going to give the NFC a Super Bowl this year. I think and San Francisco takes it.
All right.
So with that, we've gone a little over an hour here, a little bit longer than we figured. There is a game going on, so we think we'll wrap up shop here and go watch the opener. I believe Ant said a minute ago that the
7-7
Xavier Worthy scored it. It's now 7-7.
Derrick Henry started scoring, and Xavier Worthy just topped it off to tie it up.
Yep. So with that, want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. You know, taking some time off. I know there's a lot of podcasts that you guys watch, you know, that's along with ours. So we appreciate you stopping by even for a little while. Always enjoy the discussions, the chats, all that stuff. Shout out to the Filipino fan club, as always. I know Nympha was on earlier, so that they're watching. Programming note, Ryno's Rants will return Monday night. We'll do like we did last year, the recap of the weekend's games, whether we have to have a vent line, whether we have to have a therapy session, or whether we're celebrating. Make sure you join us 7:00 Monday night for the regular return of Ryno's Rants. We'll go on through the season every Monday. Do we have any Monday night games this year?
I think we got Thursday nighter, but I don't think we have any Monday nighters.
Yeah, I don't think we have a Monday night game. If we do end up with a Monday night game, then we'll take care of that when we get there. But Monday night, 7:00. As far as the studio show, it will be Saturday night next week.
Saturday, 7 p.m.
Okay, 7:00 Saturday night, where we will do the preview for the home opener against the aforementioned San Francisco 49ers. Well, Ann says we do have a Chicago Monday night game, so we'll worry about that when we get there. So yeah, 7:00 Saturday for the main studio show, live next week, and of course, Ryno's Rants Monday at 7. Thank you again, everybody, for watching. And with that, why don't you take us out of here, Lance?
Been waiting all episode to say this. Now, I believe, like, in my 34 years of being a Vikings fan, this might be the one year where everybody else outside of Minnesota has some of the lowest expectations for our team, the Minnesota Vikings. I'm seeing write-ups about the Vikings having the number 1 pick in next year's draft, and that's taking another quarterback. That's not going to happen. In all the years I've been a fan, we've never had the first fucking pick in the draft. I believe all this hoopla about us being the worst team in the league coming up is just that, a bunch of hoopla. And just like Josh Mickey mentioned earlier in the episode, a lot of the times when we got this quarterback coming in that's a veteran that has something to prove, a lot of the times it's worked out in our favor. And we've been able to revitalize a lot of veterans' careers as far as when they come to Minnesota and the talent that we have provided in those years. And with that being said, I look for much of the same coming up this season under Sam Darnold. And I believe in Sam Darnold. And I believe he will have his best season as a professional quarterback and will show why he was drafted number 3 overall. With that being said, we'll see you after the wonderful, great win that we have this weekend next Saturday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Aubrey, Millie, if you're out there watching, Dad loves and misses you. Skol.
All right. Have a good weekend, everybody. And let's go get a win.